Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode called The Precipice of Growth. Ooh, this precipice. It can almost seem to get us every single time if we are not paying the utmost attention with deliberate exploration in almost every interaction, energy, and situation that moves through our lives. And y'all, come on. We have been at the precipice of growth for a good 2 to 3 weeks now, if not a couple of months. We are just on the tail of, but still very much in the energy of the profound, life-changing total solar eclipse in Aries, which happened on April 8th, 2024. So if you're listening to this episode way beyond that date, this applies. You will remember what shifted and broke through in your life because of this celestial event. And my friends, that's why I'm here today, because I want to not just talk about, but I want to normalize the precipice and the growth opportunity that lies just beyond it. Because we have absolutely learned to back up from, ignore, bypass, or distract ourselves from the soul inquisition and work that's required to move beyond it at the root. Much more to come in just a hot sec, but I just want to say hello to y'all and check in real quick because this podcast is coming out a little bit late. And I'm sitting with, of course, the divine timing of all of this because my precipice was getting hella uncomfortable. Like I was a bit beside myself where I could not access that reprieve that usually comes, especially as I do my alignment practice, my soul work, my witchy baths, my earth chants, my channeling, like all the things. And that's when I start to feel myself living in this semi-chronic state of tension where things are starting to constrict more and more, whatever's happening in my life with business, relationships, things like that. I have the awareness of what's going down. I know the astrology and the intensity of the energies that are working with us. And still, especially in these Saturn and Pisces transits, which I have talked about in previous podcast episodes, it can be really difficult to find that spiritual reprieve, which has actually become more of my reality because Saturn blasts us into the matrix, into the density to become physically masterful at something in our reality. Ooh, and does that get uncomfortable? Because I have gotten so used to living a multidimensional experience with easy soul guidance that I don't even really have to question it much. So when that suddenly gets this cut off or it almost gets hijacked, I definitely feel a little lost at sea. And it really was the Saturn-Mars conjunction in Pisces that hit exact, I think, just a couple of days after the total Aries solar eclipse that packed a major punch, and we're all kind of reeling from it. Because in that Pisces signature, it can feel very isolating. It can feel almost like victim consciousness where we are so immersed in the difficulty of something showing up in our life in a limitation or a box or the feeling of powerlessness that we end up almost giving our power away, falling more prey to that path that we can't see beyond it. And I think it's interesting that I said lost at sea because that's what it can feel like in these Piscean waters. And that can lead to the space where our vitality gets depressed and we end up staying in a loop of the story of how hard life is, because when we look for something outside of us to change our reality, it's never going to come from a place of expansion and visualization and pure potentiality. So basically, what I'm saying is Pisces in Mars and Saturn, ouch. And I know y'all are feeling me because I am seeing this, hearing it, and feeling it across the board out there. I mean, almost all the podcasts that I have tuned into lately have had an episode recently of transparency, intimacy, and vulnerability about feeling lost and unsure of who they are, what they're doing, how it's being received, and where to go to next. So this really is the invitation for full disconnection, full unentanglement, and rest. These are the cycles and seasons that invite us into deep introspection. I mean, we also have a Mercury retrograde in Aries happening as well, and that's all about the self, who we are, how we come out, what our message is, like the things that we do without a filter, how we move forward in our life in confidence, in pioneering, in passion. And then here we are in this hustle and grind, never ending, always accelerating, going forward, moving faster, not falling behind life. And unfortunately, from there, that will become the frequency that we're running, and we'll continue to gather more evidence for the feelings of hopelessness and discouragement. So let me paint this little picture for you. As I was getting ready for my Pacific Northwest tour, which is what I'm on right now, y'all, I'll just tell you, I'm sitting in a beautiful rest stop, actually, one of the most beautiful ones I've ever seen, in my converted van with my little blind sidekick kitty, Beezus a Brave, as we get ready to go back out of cell service because I'm doing a couple of workshops at one of my favorite places in the world, Brighton Bush Hot Springs. And I'm trying to get this podcast out to you before that happens this afternoon. But yeah, right before we came, I was kind of going so dark and so disconnected that I almost canceled the whole tour because I had so much coming up for me work-wise. I had just hired this marketing company, and I'll be real, it wasn't going fantastic. And then I was basically revving up more of that energy and vibration because I was getting stressed, I was getting freaked out, and I was starting to let that mistrust or non-belief creep in based on the evidence I was getting right away. And that is quite the normal reaction for most of us because we have such a belief in failure, immediate gratification, and convenience that you combine all of those and they are a recipe for disaster in the space of imagination, visualization, belief, and the actual reality of believing in and unfolding our creations over time because they build. This whole life journey is the unfolding. And the beauty of it is being in the energy of the unfolding and creating no matter what we're seeing or witnessing or experiencing at any time. Knowing that we are the ultimate creators of our reality, knowing that there are always numerous pathways and possibilities that are showing up for us, and knowing that it's the energy that we have to keep working on, not forcing from the reality that we're seeing. And let me tell you, those of you that are out there listening, I know that you're on this tip because you're in the vibe. This is a huge job that we are doing. Disrupting these patterns that have become so ingrained in our DNA is no joke. It takes diligence, intention, deliberate energy on a day-to-day basis and unfolding. You know, something that I tell my students and clients often is when the resistance comes in, when you get hit hard by the energy, and no matter what you're doing, it just seems to keep getting more and more frustrating or more and more triggering. I'm always like, take a day, have your Netflix and chill day, completely unplug, just let it go, fully rest, fully relax, fully veg out, but then get back to your practice the next day. That's very different than going back to the physical reality that might still be running in that space of imbalance or incongruence. It means get back to your practice of aligning, of listening, of caring for yourself, filling your soul up, and working with the energy. So I was doing all of that. And I had just semi-soft launched the biggest container of my soul business yet, which P.S. I am so excited about. This is going to be the summer extravaganza of unbelievable greatness. And as soon as these Saturn energies hit right after the eclipse, I basically just stopped. I stopped the soft launch. I stopped talking about it much. I'm sprinkling it in every once in a while for those peeps out there that are just so in touch with their innate guidance, and they're so a sacred yes as soon as they hear it in their body. Like, I'm here for you. I've got the doors open. But this is where I had to honor the energies and know that had I continued, it would have been from a place of force and stress, as I was basically taking on more and more of the density of reality and really feeling hit hard by the results of the marketing efforts that I was doing for the first time in my soul business, which, by the way, launched at quite the auspicious time, right? Launching in a Mercury retrograde with a total solar eclipse in Aries. But it's all divine. That's what I'm getting to, is it ultimately became a precipice for one of the biggest leaps I'm about to make in my own soul growth, personal development, in my own ascension, but also in my business. So I basically just started to chop wood, carry water in my life. And I shared this on my Instagram because when you get to this point where you're trying to access a breakthrough or a break free in your life from the energies that are feeling so stifling and constricting and you cannot find it, that's where you just go back to the basics and you do the thing and you trust what's coming. And so basically I just did the thing. I packed the van, got ready to go, went, let myself be in this state of struggle for probably the first 2 or 3 days of the tour. And then I finally unentangled because I had become really wrapped up in the energies of like, what does this mean? Do I need to make a decision right now? What have I done? Have I taken on too much? Like, all of those questions were starting to go through because the density fog was so thick and the higher guidance access was very thin. So I knew that I was on this precipice. I knew that I needed to stay. Does knowing this make it any easier? Not really. It's pretty dang uncomfortable, but knowing it helps me not react. It helps me not make a fast decision based on the discomfort that's moving through my body. And it allows me to let the unfolding of the wisdom, the learning, the epiphany, the enlightenment come through when it's ready. And a lot of times that has to do with the shifting and changing of the energy. So sometimes we do just have to sit and feel it while trusting that it's always going to move. It's always going to change. The energies are never going to stay where they are. And unfortunately, that is something that we have done very wrong in our Western medical system because we're just trying to eradicate the symptom immediately, that we're staying on the surface and never getting to the root and shifting ourselves at a foundational or fundamental level in every area of our life, our physiology, our biology, our spirituality, our energy, our minds, our stories, our thought patterns, our belief systems. We just learned, like, take a pill, do this thing, you'll be better. And that numbs out the entire process of what we're supposed to feel in order to guide ourselves in ways to heal. So whenever I would be working on somebody when I was a body worker and they were in pain, if they came in and they had taken a muscle relaxer, I actually wouldn't work on them because they can end up getting injured further. And the same thing for myself. You know, I've had a shoulder injury for a while that I've been working with on every level. And my most recent orthopedic doctor visit, you know, he was advocating for me to take a steroid injection. And my immediate response was no, because if it's not actually going to heal what's happening at the root of the shoulder symptoms or issues, then I'm going to end up using my shoulder more because I'm not feeling what's really happening inside of there. And I'm going to injure myself deeper. So down the line, I'm going to have to do something more invasive because of that. So with that knowledge, I actually approach it in a whole different way. So when we can start to trust and relax into what's showing up in new ways and new energies in our life and not attach this fear of it being forever, we start to get the goods out of these experiences and these difficulties that ultimately show up in our lives as teachers. And also what I know to be true is that the precipice is never comfortable because we've typically trained ourselves to either resist it or run away from it. But the answer is always offered from our body to surrender to it. That's where the true breakthrough lies, when we can access deep places of patience. And this, my friends, requires a surrender of control. And from my own experience, and I know from many of your experiences, when you've gotten to that sweet spot where you truly have surrendered this need to expect and steer an outcome in your life, the wisdom and reality that shows up in your life feels miraculous. And unfortunately, I think sometimes many people label that as an anomaly in their life. Like, I can't believe that just happened. But the thing is, when we start to believe it and revere it as a part of our own divinity, healing, and guidance, we normalize it. And when we normalize anything, because y'all, we are habitual people, we love to repeat over and over and over. But when we normalize this practice of leading with the divine feminine, unentangling, finding the soft nervous system, receiving the guidance and wisdom, receiving the power of what's truly transforming in your life from the patterns and beliefs that are ready to shift, we then respond to these periods or these precipices of growth that show up in our lives in a laying down of arms. And I mean, that's the vision that I get when I see that we don't have to defend and we don't have to react and we don't have to push harder because of what we had already expected in our lives. We actually just let ourselves be uncomfortable and be curious, feel disconnected, and explore. Be uneasy and let the goods arrive. So it took me a good solid 3 days to drive out to Idaho, where I first started hitting some hot springs for my B-Day, my solar return. Thank you to everyone who sent me beautiful birthday wishes. They were very much received. And it was probably the last 3 hours of the drive that I got the download. I got the holy shit. Here it is. And dang, you sure did take a while to get there. But it was huge. I mean, huge, huge. Okay, so let me share it with you real quick. At my Awaken Your Fire retreat in Mexico at the end of January, we all go through deep patterns, wounds, limitations, and beliefs very quickly in that container and environment, myself included. I am not just the teacher and the guide. I am the student and the receiver as well. And I am always paying attention. I mean, these beautiful sacred initiations of retreat times are such an acceleration that I adore, because I'm like, we don't have time not to. This is our one experience in this vehicle, in this body. Like, why do we keep waiting? Why do we keep entertaining the things that are limiting us? And if you know, you know. Like, if you work with me, you know. I am a no BS, no holds barred. Like, we're moving fast here, and we are flying higher than we ever even thought was possible. So back to the retreat experience. There were some things coming up for me that I was really starting to feel myself go through as a guide and facilitator. And as a bonus, I always offer traditional temazcal ceremonies for my beautiful retreat participants. And our amazing shaman offered a solo journey for me and him this year. And when I went into it, I knew what I was going to be working on. I knew what was coming up for me, and I knew it was going to take me to my next level of crone, my next level of wisdom, and my next level of ancestral medicine as an earth-bound guide for now. And let me tell you, that journey between him and I was so profound. The ancestors that came in with us, these are the experiences, y'all. This kind of magic is why we came here to inhabit these human bodies, to be on the magical healing land of the earth. It's not just to hustle and grind and stress and react. We came here to enjoy this life. We came here to live in the abundance of everything around us, within us, and from us. It has gotten so freaking skewed from greed and power over. I'm so grateful that this is shifting, and I'm honoring every one of you that does continue to come back time and again and disrupt these harmful beliefs and programs that have been suppressing our light and greatness and connection and love. We are the ones that are restoring the balance, the connection, the remembrance, and the energy that is truly how we create a life of ebb and flow, of challenge and enlightenment. So back to the journeying of the shaman and I. Basically, I sat with the power of what came through. It was just pulsating through me, and the end result was like, temazcals are going to save the world. That was my final belief at the end of that journey. And fast forward to a hell of a uncomfortable reality of the last 3, maybe 4 weeks. And sitting in my van, driving through beautiful country, it hit me. The entire reason for this marketing company in my life was to actually move me through the precipice of what was coming up in the temazcal. Yes, this is what I want you to feel the empowerment of. That anything that comes into our life, when we hold it in the strict box of the expected outcome we had when we began that particular journey, we pinch ourselves off from the reality of why it appeared for us at that time. So if I hold myself in the expected outcome of what I wanted immediately from this marketing company, that's going to take me right into the stress, the constriction, the fear of it not going the direction of the initial investment and the expectation of the outcome. But when I can sit back and remember that no matter what appears in any exchange or energy or experience of my life, even when maybe it creates some deep scarcity financially for me, I've got to be able to supersede that. I've got to be able to transcend that and start to allow myself to open up to the growth that is always available, always and forever. In any experience you have, there will always be an opportunity to practice your level of growth and ascension that wants to break through now. And also, it's not going to happen in our linear time. So let's just go back to my retreat experiences. Every one of the participants had major breakthroughs, major ahas, major epiphanies and enlightenments that showed up for them. They also had major triggers that showed up. And they get to choose if they're going to explore, be curious and inquisitive, and feel what's coming up for them, or they can back up from that precipice. They can make a new decision. They can double down. They can constrict, or they can back away from something based on not getting the immediate outcome that would be comfortable. They'll also now be having an opportunity to integrate the ascension and breakthrough energy that showed up for them in our workshops and our time together, because the trigger will be happening now, because there will be some kind of experience coming through their life now that will offer a choice point. Go back to the neural pathways and patterns that you've known, no matter how much you don't want them, but yet because they're comfortable, because they're what you have known, or move beyond the precipice, step off the precipice, leap off the precipice, jump off the precipice into the unknown in order to receive the next iteration of you, the next octave, in order to embody the new response and activation at the root. So you don't have to keep coming back to those same patterns, triggers, and energies in different form in your life. This is where the mastery lies. And I know we all have been tested with these last few weeks. I know it. I hear it in my communities. I see the messages. I feel it in my life. I'm hearing it with people that have big platforms out there in the world. We're all human, no matter where we are in the unfolding of the masterpiece of our lives. You know, it's interesting because I just had this conversation with somebody, and it was so clear to me that in every relationship we have, whether they come or go, whether they stay or evolve or change or grow, there's a point at that evolution. There's a place where we get the hit. We have that innate guidance. We have that knowingness that it no longer works the way that it is. It has to shift. It has to evolve. It has to grow in some way, whether that's apart or together. But oftentimes it takes an unentangling of the energies and the expectations and the emotions as they are. And this is the place where we often go wrong. This is the place where we often double down because we're scared of losing what we've known instead of being excited to gain something better. And wow, this will definitely play into all the stories that we've created in our mind about what the relationship is, what it means, and who that person is. We really have this savior complex, right? We see the best in somebody, but we don't live in the reality of the present moment. or we hold on to the memories of what it was instead of being in the impact of what it is. And because we have fried our nervous systems, we don't give ourselves practice, almost like exercise, of expanding our nervous system into something new. And that's definitely the space that I'm in with my business right now and with this marketing company, but also with the message from the Temazcal ceremony that came through with the energy that I was working on. But anyway, back to the relationships. So there's that sweet spot where it's like you have this easy opportunity at exiting the relationship and basically enhancing it. It will grow in a different way. Like you might be friends forever if you were lovers or romantic. When you exit at the evolution, when you're available to pivot, transform, and shift the way that you're relating and interacting. But when you override that sweet spot of growth that would require a change in status or how you've known it to be, you actually then start moving down, right? So before that, the relationship is going up, 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 and things start to happen, and it's clear that something has to change and evolve. And that would be the precipice where you leap off in a new direction, and then it continues to go up, right? The energy and frequency continues to go up. But because we stay and we ignore that opportunity, now it starts to go down. Now it's becoming a wound. Now you're starting to operate in lesser frequencies, more reaction, more resentment, more control. And now it's either gathering evidence for all the other relationships that have appeared in your life with this trigger, or it's just straight up creating a new wound that you're going to have to work with on a much deeper level. And it's going to require a lot more energy out of you because this is now going to take up so much of your space in your life that could have been used for visualizing, creating, imagining, and taking aligned action in new ways, because this is getting more and more unaligned in the frequency. So basically, I just wanted to share that with you because it came into my awareness this week. And also, I feel like it's a really good example because I'm sure you can come up with many relationships in your life, even if they are exes or ex-friends, where you can remember that precipice of growth and where you probably just blew by it and created a lot of extra pain in your life that you've had to spend a whole lot more time moving through. So really, wherever you are right now, whatever precipice of growth you have found yourself on, I invite you to stay through the discomfort in a place of exploration as a student of your own life. And believe me, I know that some very hard energies can show up in that space. And this is why it is so important that you have a community of like souls that hold you, that witness you, that keep you in the space of unconditioned where you can express your most intimate and vulnerable thoughts, feelings, and emotions without them being distorted or judged or denied by the people around you. And I know you've heard me say this time and again, and it's because of what I witness in my groups and communities. This is the space for memberships. This is the space for retreats. This is the space for mentorships and masterminds. These are the investments of your life. These are the spaces that will create transformation in quantum leaps. It does not have to be linear. It does not have to take years. We are the highest technology. We are the innate healer within these bodies. And I will tell you that when you make these kinds of investments in your life, everything else elevates from there. Everything else magnetizes into your reality and you're available for it because you have accessed deep places of present moment activations. You're not living in the memories and stories of your past. You're not living in the fear of the unknown or the future. You are wide open. You are a canvas ready to be the greatest art piece that has ever been made, that will ever be made in the frequency that only you will be throughout the billions of years of conscious life and even more. So again, whatever precipice you are navigating right now is leading you to the deepest space of growth that you've known yet. Find the support. Reach out. Stay with it. The energy will change. It will shift. But if you stay in the limiting beliefs and the stories of the evidence you've gathered in the past for why it's not possible to make this breakthrough, to break free into the very next octave and iteration of you, it becomes a tragedy for humanity because we need you. We want your innate medicine. We crave the light that you came here to shine. And we want your vulnerability and intimacy. We want you to be living your best and most magnificent life. So friends, if you are listening to this podcast real time, the Scorpio full moon is just around the corner. I think maybe we're 4 days away from it. This is the energy of deep revelation and transformation. This is where all the lies that we even tell ourselves come to light. This is the energy of the phoenix rising from the ashes. And I'm just going to leave you with this. If you are a hell yes on this kind of transformation, if you are ready to go all in, if you are going to invest in this one life, in this time, and what is available for us now in these places of co-creation and high guidance of ascension, come hang out with me this summer. There's a small, intimate group coming together, and we are going to move the universe. It's called the Next Octave Mastermind and Retreat Experience Extravaganza. I am bringing the best of both worlds of two of my biggest containers that I hold in my communities. The Mastermind is a 4-month experience. The retreat is in the beautiful heartland of the Midwest on this amazing fairyland. I cannot wait to show it to you. There's actually a Hobbit house. Someone will be staying in a Hobbit house. That's going to be August 9th to the 13th. We begin the Mastermind on May 28th. You jump in now and you get all of the bonuses, but you also get the bonus of Lead Your Life, a 7-day broadcast channel event that is beginning on May 13th. And I want your sacred yes. Those of you that have already jumped in, you know this ride is about to go off. It is going to be the energy that creates worlds. That's the vibe. That's how you're going to be leading and living your life after one summer with me, full in, deliberate, dedicated, and declared. Like I said, this is an intimate experience. Space is limited. It's starting to fill up. If your body is tingling, if you're getting a lightning bolt of energy, if your guides are like, jump in now, check out the deets below. I've got a link. You can feel in to the magic that I have put together and then book a free discovery call with me. Let's drop in because I am so intentional with this group. I have to make sure that we are on the same energy train. And I want to make sure that you are equipped and ready for the type of transformation that we are going to be living. Okay, y'all. I hope that this episode has been amazing. It has created a space of warmth and support for you, that you get rejuvenated in not only staying on this precipice, but leaping off of it into the unknown, trusting that there is something great waiting for you, showing up for you, that there is an ascension available like you've never known in this physical reality. And if you have loved this episode, please share it with at least just one person, with a good friend, with a sister, with a partner, someone that you know has been going through it lately, someone who needs to hear these words of comfort and wisdom to know that they're not alone. Also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please give me a beautiful star rating and review. It would mean so much to me. It really helps the podcast get out to more ears and be a little bit more visible because we are pretty inundated at this point. The energies are accelerating and so is the internet. There's a lot out there and I love it, but it's a lot to sift through as well. And so, trust is huge. And when you share something that other people can tap into, they trust it and they say yes, and they invest their time, their belief, their energy, and even their dollars. If you'd like to know more about me and my other programs and offers, please just head on over to therawandwildhearts.com. Definitely come hang out on my email newsletter and in my email community because, like I said, I've got an amazing broadcast channel event coming up as well called Lead Your Life. You do not want to miss it. More of you will be able to join that than the next Octave, Mastermind and Retreat. So feel out. What's a sacred yes? What's a hell yes? What's an F yes? Because we did not come to dim our light or play small. So I say, let's get to it. And don't forget to keep looking up.